Welcome everyone back to Democracy 3.0. We are an organization that innovates collaborative, open, democratic processes with the goal of creating an inclusive consensus that eventually grows large enough for us to have, actual influence in the world. So today, if there are no objections, we have a presentation by Scott on the 5 steps to peace. And TC, suggested this, and it sounds like Scott was talking a little bit just before we started, and it sounds like it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And we have 50 minutes for that. For the last 10 minutes, I do want to go over our living documents to keep them alive so they don't die.
Okay, so if y'all ready for me to go ahead and do this?
Get to it, man.
Okay, all right. All right, so anyhow, Mike got in on the last part of that piece, but yeah, I've been familiar with this information for a long period of time, and it's really changed my life. But this one particular book I'm reading now, and it's really moved me to start to share it and put these principles out there and these ideas out there. Really, the name of the book is called The New Revelations. And it's New Revelation by Neil Donald Walsh. But anyway, this is the basic, some of the stuff that's in this. In this is the 5 steps to peace, and God has given us basically an idea as to if humanity really wants to move out of the violent cycles and everything that it's in, it's going to have to change some of its beliefs, its core beliefs, and therefore, once those beliefs are changed, then the laws and the ideas and the principles under which those society is run can change too. But a lot of this goes back to organized religion and different types of belief systems that are not truly representative of who God is. But anyway, we'll go now. I'm going to share with you. It's called The 5 Steps to Peace, and it's in this book, which I highly recommend you get. Okay, so let's start again. The 5 steps to peace that humanity needs to know about if they truly have an intention of making a better world and moving forward. So let's say, number 1, acknowledge that some of your beliefs about God and about life are no longer working. Number 2, acknowledge that there are some things you do not understand about God and about life, the understanding of which could change everything. Number 3, be willing for a new understanding of God and about life to now be brought forth, an understanding that could produce a new way of life on this planet. Number 4, be courageous enough to explore and examine this new understanding. And if it aligns with your inner truth and knowing, to enlarge your belief system to include it. Number 5, live your lives as demonstrations of your beliefs rather than as denials of them. So all of this is very worthy. I don't know if you guys meditate or not, but this is something that I'm really starting to meditate on pretty strongly, a little bit every day, just trying to understand, the implications of this and what would happen if we could get everyone to start looking at what they say they believe and in getting these belief systems to line up with what a belief about God, like maybe God has a plan for you, or God cares about what you do, or God's going to judge you, or you got to do something to please God, and so therefore all manner of rules and laws and rituals and sacrifices and all these things are put out into practice, and it just gets carried along for hundreds, even thousands of years. And the laws and things that were put in place back then, all of us, this is all changing. Life changes, customs change, people change, what somebody thinks is true or good or right or whatever, that can change too. And the laws need to change according to that. They need to be organic. They need to be sustainable, and they need to be adjustable in order for them to be functional. And, therefore, when you're still you're going by this book that was written 2,000 years ago with some really crazy laws. And believe me, I've read the Old Testament through about 6 times. And I know there's the other sections are kind of like that too. But it's a really good book to get and read if you really want to dig deeper into this. But these are the 5 basic steps here that I found that I needed to share with everybody, because it really does undergird what we're doing here on a political sense. Because really, all politics is the expression of your own belief system into law. Okay, so it's all, that's why all of that stuff is so powerful. Tapping into these core beliefs, but a lot of times it's the core beliefs that are there that are causing all of the problem. But we have to, as a people, as humanity here, I really think it's that critical now. Humanity needs to start, looking out for humanity here. We need to start taking care of each other, or it's over. This whole idea of being separate and looking out for number one is over. We can't continue to do that and survive. So it's pretty critical. So, I felt like this was salient enough to be incorporated into, our type of discussion here, because, that's what's beautiful about it. What I like about it is the different sharing of different ideas and feelings about all this stuff. So thanks, guys. That's it for me. That's all I wanted to share for now. But I hope you guys can, if you ever want to talk about it, or you ever or discuss that anymore, let me know, because what I like to do is I like to read a book or get a concept or something, and then you kind of hash it out with other people, or just find out how they feeling about the same thing, what their perspective is. And
so Scott, I have a question for you. There's a lot of words about God in there.
Yeah.
And, I grew up damaged by the idea of God.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a certain part of me that finds this, well, I want to be careful about that. It challenges me. The very first one is change your beliefs about God.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had to move my belief that if there was a God, he wasn't a punishing God, he was a loving father. And I was brought up that God was a punishing God, that if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're going straight to hell, and that I'm broken and I need salvation. And that set me on the course of trying to fix shit for the rest of my life. And so I would change my belief about God is that, like you say, I am God and I'm not broken. And when I relieve myself from all the beliefs you talk about, I shine like a star. I'm a brilliant being. And but most of the time it's covered up with fear and shame and guilt. So thanks, God.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff. I mean, but yeah, a lot of us, when we've gone on this journey, this inner journey for me it's always been about self-discovery. And then if I find that the people that come into my life too, they're angels in a sense. I mean, each one of you are going to teach me something. Hopefully I'll be able to give something back to you as well. I think every human interaction is an energy exchange. And, it's like I helped TC today on his computer. You know, and I mean, I ain't worried about that because there's some day, one of these days, yeah, I'm gonna need T-Sit. So it seems like the universe kind of does that sometimes, where you do something just to help somebody, and all of a sudden, you know, they end up helping you too. So it's a cool system. But yeah, with the whole God thing, we have to realize that maybe we don't quite know who God is. God is not some neurotic, vengeful entity that needs us to like him or worship him or any of that stuff. God is the one infinite creator. And get this, this is what the extraterrestrials call God, is the one infinite creator. Get it? OIC. Isn't that the coolest thing? Huh? But yeah, the one infinite creator. So like, you know, we are creators. We were created by the master creator. So all of us are here creating as well. You know,
So I think, Nissan, what do you think?
yes.
I really want to dive deeper in what Scott believes.
I'm sorry, I missed that. You wanted to get what?
I want to dive deeper of what you believe and why you believe certain things.
Oh, well, you know, it's about the whole thing is about free will and creating your own reality, being the best you can be, being God. You're the only one who can be Nissan Picture, the God, like I am. You know, we're all individual pieces of light. We're all individual gods, but yet the body that we have with us is just an illusion. It's not really. It's not the body doesn't hold the soul. The soul actually holds the body. And that's why these energies intertwine with each other. And then you either are attracted to those energies or you're not, just because of your own vibration. It's like birds of a feather flock together. You heard of that saying, right? Well, it's the same thing. Energies will connect. That's why you got a democratic energy and a Republican energy and an independent energy. And then you know, all these different viewpoints and perspectives or what have you, which make it all very interesting. But it's all about knowing that God is, you know, wide open for, you know, you do whatever. You're not going to hurt God's feelings. God's not going to judge you. There's no need for God to judge you. Why would God want to judge God's self? Well, how could that even be? So therefore, that's just a fallacy right there. But it's about you coming down here, being in a body, and then being able to have experience, which creates feeling. Perspective creates perception. Perception creates experience. Experience creates feeling. Feeling goes back to the circle and creates perspective. So, but it's getting a whole different idea. I guess the whole different idea about the who we think this vengeful, mean God or judging God is that like that was used by man in order to gain control over certain people by using fear. And I might add, Jesus said that the most 67 times in the Synoptic Gospels. He said, "Fear not, be not afraid." He didn't talk about anything, say as much about anything else as fear. So why was that? Maybe he understood that human beings were susceptible or vulnerable to being scared and being afraid and being threatened, and they knew that if they didn't, if they could stand strong and stay away from fear, and I think that's true for any spiritual journey, is you have to, you know, remove the fears out of your life. The more fear you can get away from, it's either love or fear. So the more fear you get away from or move out of, the more you lose your fears, the more you can actually evolve and grow. Fear will cause you to stagnate in your spiritual growth and in your other growth too, in your regular life. You know, people, and you've seen lately with this COVID thing, they have used fear to manipulate people very easily. And so, yeah, people, that's another part of it.
For me, for me, to me, God is truth. And I grew up, my mom is still a very devout Christian, and I grew up in the church, and got baptized around middle school, and when I got into high school, I'd always um, we had science magazines come to our house every month, Discover Science Magazine and Scientific American, and I loved reading those. And I got to high school and learned about and reading, just read and thought about evolution, and it was a bit of a this was this was late 90s. It was a bit of a thing. I would hear them talking about it on Christian radio, when I was in the car with my mom, and my youth pastor had this series. He decided, I asked him a few questions, and he decided to do this series about apologetics, which was sort of like arguing in a logical fashion for the existence of God and the truth of Christianity. And so he did that series, and I talked, and I asked some questions in that series, and after the series, I sort of that was sort of the beginning of the end for me. Like I would say that if you don't argue for it logically and just posit, say that, look, it may very well be true that there is a God out there, and if he doesn't want us to see him, then we won't see him. And it's be very difficult to argue about that. But then the arguments that you see in,
You won't see her because she's looking
like,
right.
what was that, Scott?
Go ahead, go ahead. I was being silly. I said,
Oh
well,
yeah,
you won't see her because she's staring right at you.
right. There you go. Yeah, but they do
Go
these
ahead.
things about, like, how evolution is false and creationism, and that would be fine if you were honest about what it is. But I think when you really look at the evidence objectively, like most of that, it just doesn't work. And I feel like a large one of the biggest problems in the world is the loss of truth. I don't remember who it was that said that, whoever can get you to believe, I'm going to completely butcher it, but someone says, whoever can get you to believe, like, ridiculous things can get you to commit atrocities, because you act from where you are, from what you see is the truth about the world. Yeah, and if you believe certain ridiculous things about, say, certain groups of people, then it will become logical and natural to um do certain things. Yeah.
Good
That's what
thoughts.
I have to share.
Yeah, I would just like to say, you talked about one of the problems with the church, or just spiritual belief in general, or religious belief, is that everybody thinks there's something called the truth. Okay, and if you're in the world of absolute reality, that might be so, but not in our world. I mean, what we have here is your truth. There's my truth. There's Nissan's truth, and there's TC's truth. Okay, and then, but the thing is that we keep going along saying this is the truth and you must believe the truth, when each human being has the right to express and be their truth, walk their truth, speak their truth, and their truth is just as right as your truth is. That's when people get in this Bible thing and say, oh, well, our belief is right, God is on our side and all that crap. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
That's a bunch of hooey. God's on everybody's side. This is
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff is human constructions of thought systems that for some reason a lot of people still believe in. They think it's tradition and Allah said way back when and all this. And with all due respect, we need to question all that stuff too and find out if it's spiritual law is lining up with what's in our hearts, you know, and
Well,
start.
I think that
I
it's
mean, I grew up as a Catholic, and tradition is like there. I mean, I went through the whole thing. I prayed the rosary. We went to mass every 3 times a week, the whole bit, you know, and that was some great training. But you know, it's yeah, it's all very. They all have it very regimented, you know, and you get to a certain point where you want to grow more spiritually, and they want you to be in the status quo. That's what the institutional church wants from people. They want you to shut up and follow their rituals instead of questioning anything. You know, so there's a lot of people now who consider themselves spiritual and not religious because they were tired of that ridiculousness coming from the institutional church, and they couldn't take it no more. And they know the truth's in their heart, and you can't corral that. You know, you can't do that. You know, people start trusting in their own inner voice is what they should do. And that's why I keep telling everybody, hey, wake up, you're gods. I'm a god, you're a god. And you know, that whole thing, namaste, right? Well, we all know that means the God in me acknowledges the God in you. And
I think that it,
what would the world be like if we all
for
if we
people
did
to-
to each other as God? Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, two things. First, Eddie, I think the quote you were trying to get out was those who can make you believe in absurdities can make you commit atrocities.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second, I consider myself still, not religious because I simply understand there are things that are beyond my understanding, beyond any human understanding. And part of my belief system is that I believe in kind of the multiverse. So I believe there's things that live on the edges of our reality and sometimes that sometimes can interact, but we cannot fully interact with it. And this gets more and more into these weird things when you start seeing evidence more and more now with all our technology capturing some really weird stuff. We were seeing invisible intelligent forces, but not a singular invisible intelligent force, but a multitude of very intellectually diverse invisible forces, and trying to track them down and understand them and interact with them, it is really on the cutting edge of things. Oh, and yet this was something before that was made taboo in the science, where this was where scientists should be at the forefront of. So it's amazing we keep looking for life and intelligence outside this planet, and yet there's so much stuff with this planet we don't even know.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's the ultimate act of hubris by man is what we're doing right now. We're total morons. I mean, but there are a handful of us out there fighting the good fight, and that's kind of how I see it. I mean, hopefully it can turn around, but we're just gonna keep swinging. You know what I'm saying? Keep on shining your light, and trying to probably live by example too. And live a good balanced life and do what you can to move humanity forward.
I heard what Nissan said about there are things beyond my understanding or my ability to perceive. And that's the problem with words. Words are they're like confining, they're trying to define something. And so when you use the word God, I still, and I want to change this, I still hear it as something that's separate outside myself. And what you're telling us is that's not, it's something inside of us that we share in common. And the words are still sounding as if God is something apart from me, and it's not.
Right, that's the whole key. is man, his idea about being separate from God has been so ingrained in him. He doesn't realize he is God. This is the expression of God, is all of us in nature too. It's like I was sitting on my patio meditating today, and I was just thinking about the creation and looking at all my, those plants and the trees and the birds and all that. And it was just real nice atmosphere, and just thought, wow, I mean, God, everybody wants to know what God looks like. Well, look around you. And it's because all of it is God. All of it is the creation, including ourselves. So, that's kind of a way to connect yourself with nature as well. I mean, it's always, why is it always man against nature, man against man against animal, man against the environment, we're part of this whole ecosystem, man. We should be living symbiotically with all the other creatures on the planet. I mean, why do we think we have the right to just, yes, we're the smartest creatures, but we should deal with our animal friends in a humane way, especially if we're going to eat them or whatever, but
I don't know if I guess if you would ask any other intelligent life, it will probably be considered the most insane creatures, not the most smartest.
Oh yeah, well yeah, we have not shown ourselves to be. I mean, there's been little small moments in humanity's history where we've shined, but I mean, it's a pretty. I mean, there's been some channels that say that the Earth is actually a training ground for souls to come down and have experiences, and then move forward with their development. It's like, the question is, well, if you thought Jesus could heal anybody with the snap of a finger, and he was here, why didn't he? That's the question. Why didn't he heal? Maybe it's because Jesus understood that he saw that person came down to experience what it would be like to be handicapped, to not have a leg, that kind of thing. So every soul you see has had some kind of mishap or something like that, do not think that those are just poor old souls. Those are very courageous souls. They came down to have a specific challenge, which would be to deal with a different state of body that most normal people would have. And so, yeah, those are very courageous souls that come down.
Are you a starseed or follow the starseeds at all? Are you a starseed or follow the starseeds?
I don't know. I don't.
What?
I've heard that term before, but I haven't really. Not sure what that means.
Would you like me to explain it? Well, it's a group of people. Well, it's an ideology. What basically it's very comprehensive, but to shorten it up as best I can, there was a group of spiritual entities that was sent down to Earth, like seated onto Earth to be reincarnated in us. So like these souls were sent to a pole where we get reincarnated, and was sent there to act kind of like sleeper cells in a sense, where they would live their life as a human until the specific time came where they would be activated as they came in with a specific mission to like correct the mistake that happened on this planet, to get it back on course for what it was meant to do, which is supposed to be, like you said, a training area for souls.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and they believe in they believe in the idea of a source, basically a singular consciousness. And there's a lot more to it, but I think I got most of the gist of it.
I got it.
Yeah.
So basically there's seeds because they grow, and then from the stars. So star seeds.
Right, right.
This is the first type of star seeds. There's supposed to be like 3 waves. The first wave was called the not violet, the so lavender, no,
Indigo.
indigo. Thank you.
Indigo kids? Yeah.
The indigo children.
Yeah.
The second wave was the crystals, and the third wave was the rainbows. Well, technically, the second one, the second wave only had a small landing here. Apparently, there's only a small group of crystals and then a bunch of rainbows, and then crystals came back again. So yeah, so it's a long story, but it's very dense. There's a lot. I'm only giving you like a very short synopsis.
So next time we'll get a little more, huh?
Yeah, but the way you talk, you sound a lot like them.
Yeah, interesting.
Hey, Don has been here before, and I talked to him one time, and he believes that he's of the Indigo kids, and I do too. I mean, the first time I saw him, he just shined. You know, I mean, it was clearly he was on a different level. And we're all moving in that direction of singularity and unity, not singularity in the sense of technology, us as like Nissan, when we were at that happy meeting and I was listening to you listen to the meeting, and I realized that I was not necessarily in agreeing with what was being said, but I was totally connected to that. I felt like I was one with the person talking, that there was no difference between us. And that's a new sensation for me, that really start to feel like we're connected. And it's deeper than any of the stories that we're telling ourselves. So there was something else I was thinking and it's gone, but when it comes back, I'll let you know.
Oh, and TC, I think you might have a bug in your house.
What?
I saw a bug just above your head and flew away.
Oh yeah, I got all kinds. Yeah,
One of those buddies, huh? One of your pals.
I thought you were saying I was being bugged,
No,
surveilled.
no.
You, Eddie.
Did you want to do the living documents now?
Yeah, let's do the living documents. We'll share screen.
I didn't mean to change the subject that abruptly, but
Yeah.
whatever it was that I was thinking wouldn't come back.
Yeah. There is a thing I want to say, that I do think that it's important to both to give people the space for their own exploration for truth, but also to have a mechanism to reach a consensus on truth and the facts. And I think that I don't know, like extraterrestrials, 20 years ago, that would have been, firmly in the area of sort of like fringe idea.
Crack pottery.
Yeah, crack pottery. There you go. But
No, we sure not.
the evidence, at least that I see that as having shifted, and now it's, unless the videos that have been put out, unless those were faked, then it would seem that extraterrestrials are definitely real, and there's apparently movements where people are organizing and
Well, we have data that can't be
acting with
faked.
them.
There's been data that's been released that can't be faked, like certain IR vision, certain radar returns,
Yeah.
and other advanced surveillance equipment that really can't be faked.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm not happy just like speculating that this might be true. Like, I want to go and find out, is it true or not? Yeah.
You should try Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've been watching that.
Heard of that, and it sounded kind of creepy.
There's some weird stuff going on over there, I bet.
I remembered what I was thinking. And what I was thinking is we talk about as if we come down to earth from somewhere above to have a challenging experience. Like you were talking about people that have handicaps and challenges.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what if we come up to earth to have experiences of gratitude, joy, and wonder? And why do we always want to talk in terms of kind of more like down and suffering when we could be talking about up and enjoyment?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
people choose their own states. I mean, when you're here, you make those choices, and you will have consequences to those choices. If you choose, you're as far as God's concerned, you're free to do whatever you want: kill, rape, murder, pillage, whatever. But just understand this: the natural law is going to be enforced, and that is a law that every human being is susceptible to. So go ahead and kill somebody, do what you want. You won't be judged by God, but you best believe you'll probably get caught. You'll probably be in jail for a long period of time. So, but yeah, I mean, and my own view about this too is, there's no hell, but when you do leave here, you get to look at the consequences of the actions you took with every other human being you interacted with, and you get a chance to review it and possibly say, okay, I want to go again, and then you come down and get in another body, and off you go. So that's kind of my view, and that's kind of what the Conversations with God material, which is what I really changed my life. It states those kinds of concepts there that really kind of throw you from your traditional thinking, like God is a man, or God is a he, God is a she. So, the thing is, there's 5 words that God wants us to know. You got me all wrong. I yield.
Go ahead, Nissan.
yeah, from my understanding, from this planet was made as the ground for 2 paths to be, or 2 types of ideologies of living, basically out, so together at one time. And basically one path is about creating and helping sharing others, and living out for others, to generate and create. The other one was to basically consume, to grab power, and to ingratiate yourself into understanding both different ways of evolving. So this was the place where intersected those 2 lines, to have entities from both sides coexist at the first time. So one naturally became the light side, one that became the dark side, but it got confused with like good and evil, which it's not. I mean, both basically ideologies are the same. And this comes from the idea of the seed, the God seed, was it God seed or God egg idea, where basically, it's like each soul is like a piece of a consciousness that's growing, and it goes through different evolutions as it experiences more and more stuff, and then it gets to a point where it becomes so big that it creates a new egg, and then the whole process starts all over again.
Yeah, the cosmic wheel. Yeah. It's just like with animals, right? So I've made a deal with the animals already. Okay, so I'm eating the cows, pigs, and the chickens, and they came down here to be food for us. Okay, that don't mean we should be inhumane to them though. Nonetheless, I done made my deal with them. I said, look, I'll come down on the cosmic wheel, and then I'll be food for you. So hopefully they'll like that. hopefully that hopefully that'll that's how it all works though. But I mean, from what I've understood is you start off as an amoeba, and then you circulate and evolve through different types of life forms, and then you end up being, say, like the A life form, the human on the planet, and then you move from just a three-dimensional person to like fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh dimension, where you no longer have a body or anything like that. I mean, this is just, I have no clue about this, but this is what I've read. This is what kind of makes sense to me. But anyway, you evolve in the cosmic wheel, and then you start all over again on the very bottom. And it's like, that was an explanation given to me. It sounds reasonable.
Go ahead.
I want to add to what I was thinking, because it came to me that when I was talking about whether we're here to experience a life of joy and gratitude and happiness, or whether we're here to have a life of suffering, pain, and growth that way. And then I realized it's both, because it's happening to me all the time. I mean, I'm feeling great, and at the same time, I have issues that cause me to be more on the downside. So it's both. And but I choose as much as possible that happy side. It's like that's where I feel the most joy and peace, is to choose happiness.
So I'm going to go ahead and go over the living documents before we end the meeting. This morning, Nissan and I both attended the strategy meeting of Represent Us on election security. So I don't know. I'm curious if Nissan had anything to add to this document, but I think he looks like he's falling asleep too.
Yeah, it's getting late for me, so I'm a little off.
Yeah.
Anti-violence, backbone, interaction without effective intervention. Vision, sustainable to long term strategies, politicization. I think they wanted to also add more, volunteer polling. They also said to ask the clock.
Volunteer polling?
Yeah, because they're short polling staff.
Right.
And they said to
right. Yeah,
they also want to push local legislation to protect poll workers. And to speak with the local clock. Oh, I forgot something. I don't know what the kind of clock is, but it's
local
clock. I think petition clock, not clock. CLERT.
Okay, got it.
I don't. I think that's. I don't know. That's election clerk or petition clerk. I don't know what kind of clerk. Yeah.
All right. Looks good. Looks good for this week. Organization collaboration. Any edits, suggestions? Background: bringing organizations together can provide a lot of leverage, vision, coordination of action between organizations, and cross-pollination of ideas and plans. Next steps, map a list of organizations, contacts between organizations. 6 organizations right now, large and small.
I haven't made any progress with NYPA, and UPA is still getting up and running, so
Okay,
they're starting moving now, so.
all right.
I joined Gilded today when in North Carolina. So that's the connecting back the other way for me, because see, I didn't even know Gilded existed until till you guys turned me on to it.
Yeah.
So that's putting those two together. There are two platforms that do the same thing, and yet we don't see each other because we're on different platforms. So
Yeah, trying to get a unified platform is incredibly difficult.
yeah. I was working with some people trying to create that called Trove. And it's just really difficult.
But if they could figure it out, all the best of luck. That's an incredibly difficult job to do.
No other edits. I'll close this one out.
Yeah.
Then we have Democracy 3.0. Background around 2020, government in the US is no longer optimally responsive to the needs and desires of the people. Democracy 3.0 was created in January 2022. We meet weekly on Thursdays at 10 p.m. Have done some experimental work on consensus building. Insight is if we're a bottom-up organization, every member is responsible for their own time and energy. There's no need for a unified plan of everything. The bottom-up process is based on sharing and inspiration rather than direction. Conflict resolution is only necessary when members are working in opposition. Scott, did you say something? I didn't catch. I think I heard
No,
you.
I had some background. I followed
Oh, okay, cool. Vision, we wish to create an open source democratic organization that allows for consensus building and coordinated action among large numbers of average people to take back control of the direction of the country. Next steps, coordinate around living roadmaps, initiated and maintained by members, reach out to more organizations and invite them to the Thursday night meeting.
This is the best one, Eddie. This is well written.
There's
And
go ahead. Thanks,
it looks more like the American Union than the American Union. You know, consensus building group of people large enough to take back control in the direction of the country. Yeah.
Yeah, there was some stuff yesterday that reminded me of this. I think that, yeah, it can be hard to give your plan to somebody else, but it might be easier to invite other people to come and join us and work on a plan together. Maybe. There was a pretty interesting chart this morning at the Representative Strategy meeting, which was about studying whether the policy preferences of voters increase the chance of a policy being passed. And according to the chart they put up, there's like no relationship.
None.
It doesn't matter if everybody hates it or everybody loves it. It's all the same. It doesn't make a difference whether things pass or not. Apparently, the preferences of the elite do influence policy quite a bit. So that's interesting. And I asked the question about, whether that's changed over time because, I'm curious. I'm curious to see maybe that is how it's always been. Maybe it's increased recently. I'm curious how that works because I think looking at the cycles in history and what has happened and why, it may be easier to understand the cause and effects with things that are far removed in history and use that and perhaps be able to use that to better understand where we are now.
I like to look at the 1912 Progressive Party platform. 1912, that's over 100 years ago. And
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt was talking about there's a invisible government behind our government, and it's our duty to do everything we can to disrupt that invisible government. So it's been there. I mean, it was there then, it's there, that's what's going on now. Behind our government,
Yeah.
there's an invisible government that's controlling everything. And our duty is to disrupt that invisible government. Or not, I don't know. I just don't want to play with it. I feel blessed to be where I'm at, and I don't know what else to say.
That Teddy, man. The more I hear about this guy, this dude's a ball. This dude's a baller.
Well, he was giving a speech, they shot him and he finished.
Yeah. I know. I saw it. Yeah. I'm like, damn.
It starts out, political parties were made to enhance the will of the people, and they've fallen away from that, completely fallen away from that. And I really should look. I mean, I would love to share that, but I would have to go look for it.
So if no other suggestions to the document, I will close the document and say that thanks everybody for coming to the meeting, and hopefully we'll see people next week again.